Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, Tony. Nice to see you. I don't think I've seen you since New Orleans.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you? Hi, everyone.
Good.
Ready to get started whenever time is right.
Yes.
All right.
As always, everyone, please put your name and affiliation into the chat when you have a moment.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Nice to see you and happy March. And hopefully spring in a few weeks. Very excited. As David mentioned, we ask that you please put your name and affiliation in the chat. I believe we are in for a great session today around the Uniquely Able Academy. So much to learn and such impressive results. So I'm not going to prolong the time so we can get into the learning. So I will pass it to our Executive Director, Matt Bogosian, for some updates.
Great, Michelle. Thank you so much. Michelle from the Century Foundation, one of our many BFFs, always reliable on introducing the call that's been going on for years, almost a decade, I think, Sarah. It's been, yeah, pretty cool. This 30-minute, if you're new to the AMCC, this is a 30-minute call. Come in and very efficient. We have two flavors of it. Where we just have round robin. Sometimes we have presentations. Today's a presentation day, but this is very informal, right? So come in, put your info in there, have things going on in chat, get to know folks from other parts of the country, other big institutional BFFs that are on here, from federal agencies and national nonprofit organizations. So it's very cool. You're welcome. This is free, open source, just like the AMCC update that goes out every week. Super important resource there. The 30-minute call today and every week kind of goes hand in hand with the AMCC update. So share that thing out. It's a platform for not only learning, but also sharing and a platform for you all to put your information out. I mean, we depend so much on you, David. David Van Sicklen, our operations director, can sign you up and get other people signed up, or you can do it on the website, whatever. So a lot of good things in there for us to strengthen American manufacturing across the country. So we do have a presentation today, like I said, but we also, are flexible. That's one of the best things about AMCC. We're pretty flexible to move from one thing to another. And so one of our BFFs from the Department of Energy, Jeremy Avens, is going to make a bigger presentation later on in a few weeks. I think, let's see, April 8th, right, Jeremy? But you wanted to chime in here for a minute before I summarize some of the things from the AMCC update. Go ahead, Jeremy.
That'd be great. And I'll actually invite Clifton, my colleague Clifton Yin, do so, and I'll put some links in chat while he's doing the quick update.
Thanks, Jeremy. Jeremy looks a lot more snazzy than me, unfortunately. But hi, hello, friends. Yeah, so as Matt mentioned, we'll be presenting on April 8th in more detail, so we really appreciate that opportunity. But today, just a quick teaser for everyone's awareness. We have two opportunities at DOE MEST for folks right now. So for context, I think many people are familiar with the IACs, the Industrial Assessment Centers, but around 40 years. Basically, students at centers have been at four-year universities around the country have been performing free energy assessments for small to medium-sized manufacturers, and it's a great way for them to get training, but also for manufacturers to benefit. And so now there's going to be an IAC expansion, $24 million with 3 funding opportunities to expand the program to non-four-year universities and focus more on workforce development. So the first track is for smaller awards for community colleges, trade schools, union training programs, other apprenticeship programs that are kind of preparing to possibly become ISCs. The second track would be for existing programs to actually apply to become an ISC, and the third is for even larger scale to establish kind of ISC consortia with an umbrella organization to build and support a network of ISCs. So that's kind of the first opportunity that folks should be aware about. And thanks Jeremy for including the links in the chat. The second is the ISC grants program. So for 40 years, the ISCs have been performing energy assessments and provide assessment reports to folks after the fact, saying you should implement these recommendations to improve your facility. Now DOE is providing grant funding, and so we have $80 million available this year. We've actually had a couple rounds already. We have an open year-round rolling application period for manufacturers. So basically, if you receive an assessment from an ISC or a couple other eligible assessment sources, you can apply for grant funding to actually implement the improvement recommendations. So up to $300,000 per manufacturer at 50% cost share. And so, this is a great opportunity to actually get the assessment, get these recommendations, and actually fund them through DOE. And actually, I'll point out as well, we're using this new application system. So traditionally, DOE funding opportunities can be kind of confusing and complicated. By using this intermediary, we're able to simplify the application process. It can be really straightforward, a lot shorter, and less complicated than usual DOE funding opportunities. So.
Cool, Clifton. That's awesome. And Jeremy, that's a great trend, right? We're trying to encourage with all of our BFFs. So glad you hit that point, right? Because we're trying to fuse all of these interventions into kind of regionally relevant cocktails of performance that helps strengthen not only the manufacturers in those regions, but the manufacturing communities around them. So it's awesome that you guys are kind of keeping that as your North Star, right? How does it work in the context of stakeholders, many of whom are represented here? So anything else, Jeremy, on that?
Yeah, just would welcome. I put links, so there's informational sessions for each that are also in the chat here. There is, at the end of this month, the next deadline for these implementation grants, which it's a really simple application. So would welcome, especially you're all kind of sharing with any small and mid-sized manufacturers that you work with, the opportunity to get no cost energy assessments and then kind of quick turnaround, get a easy application in for up to 300,000.
Great. Jeremy, Clifton, thanks so much. You guys are always here and a good BFFs for the AMCC community. So keep up the good work, and we'll stand with you as we go forward here. Before I introduce our speaker, I want to highlight again the things, there's tons in the AMCC update. So hats off to David Van Sicklen for putting those drafts together and making it happen with a lot of the input that you guys provide, etc. Couple of things, I'd be remiss without kind of calling out our friends in Alabama. We just did AMCC Roadshow throughout Alabama last week. Brian Tucker and Joe Paxton at University of Alabama, Huntsville. All the folks they brought together. Thanks, you guys. We were from Auburn to Tuskegee to Dothan to Troy to Huntsville. So many learning, shared best practices, and it was great. It ended with a manufacturing community ecosystem metrics workshop on Thursday, and we had many of our federal BFFs there, especially from the different offices in DoD, which was great, and America Works and JFF. Anyway, so lots going on in regions, of course, where the action happens, and so we're looking forward. Next week, we're going to be with the leaders in Wisconsin, Madison, Milwaukee, and Green Bay, and we're talking with many other regions. So if let's get some dates on the calendar in other regions so we can co-create important bottom-up activities. So thanks to that. The podcast is rolling along. Seriously, if you haven't listened to the latest, the podcast, you can just get it on your phone app or whatever, on podcasts. It's on Spotify and Apple and all of that, but it's also on the website. Mark Murrow, the Brookings Institution, talks about what you guys are doing. He's calling it a manufacturing community movement. And he has been studying this. Place-based initiatives is one way he describes that for the last 15 years. So check that out. It really is validating to what you all are doing, what we all are doing together. And he also has a new article that just came out from Brookings Institution on that. So anyway, super important to bring the best data and evidence and evaluation to what's going on. That's what the Metrics Project is about, but getting folks at high levels writing and researching about this work that we're doing so that we can get more predictive outcomes from the interventions that we craft. Super important. So that's in there. And of course, a whole laundry list of federal opportunities from DOE, of course, but also, from NSF, Department of Labor, DOD, Economic Development Administration. Like, check it out. There's one in there from the Department of Transportation about these designated centers of excellence to support maritime workforce training and education. Like, I see some of our friends from Virginia there on the maritime thing, and what in the state of Washington too. I wonder what that's all about. So let's learn about that together. Super important. Well, hats off to our friends in Utah. They're responding to the DOE RFI, request for information about a manufacturing capital connector. That's a super, one of our big 6 areas is around capital access, right? And so DOE is stepping to the plate to try to enable more of that. And so we all can, that deadline is, by the way, today at 5:00 Eastern time to get comments into DOE on that. Anyway, lots in there. Check it out. Please, thanks in advance for your notes, chats, calls, sharing, trust building activities to drive better performance bottom up from regions across the country to strengthen the American project. So thanks for that. And of course, back to the big 6, right? One of the big 6 for regions to thrive, manufacturing regions to thrive. They've got to have all 6 elements working, sufficiently. And one of the big parts of the big 6 is workforce and training. And so one of the things that we learned about on our AMCC roadshow trip in California was super important, right? Our North Star is sustainable development, which means economic prosperity. It means environmental sustainability and national security, but it also means diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And so we were exposed to a manufacturer. We got a tour of a manufacturing plant that had a whole bunch of folks that have autism working on the factory floor, and that was enabled by a bunch of stakeholders, to include many BFFs, part of AMCC, but it's led by the Uniquely Abled Project. And so the founder and president, Evan Rosenberg, is with us today to share about, how this important American constituency that's pretty much everywhere around the United States should be a part of this this renaissance of manufacturing communities. So, Evan, or Yvonne, I'm sorry, we haven't met before. I know some of our stakeholders are part of Uniquely Abled. Welcome to AMCC, and tell us a little bit about Uniquely Abled and how regions around the country can get folks with autism on the factory floor. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Matt, and thanks, David, for the invitation. And I know we're limited on time, so I will move quickly and share screen. Can you all see that slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can.
Great, so we'll move. So that's who, that the number one issue out there for many manufacturers is workforce, getting a skilled workforce. And that's been going on for a long time. What's another issue is 27% of the US population is classified as disabled. That number has gotten steadily worse, by the way. That's 80 million people. And why that's important is that the unemployment rate among those 80 million people is 60 to 90%. And who's paying for their living? That's us through our taxes. And the third group is the educational institutions. The pandemic really changed their life, particularly the community colleges. That in California, for example, college enrollment is at a 30-year low, and applications have dropped like mad. So there are really 3 problems. There's the business problem. of finding skilled workers, and there's the college problem of finding students, and then there's the unemployment problem of people finding work. And we saw those three problems being solutions for each other. So quickly, to get to the bottom line, the results to date is, and we're going to go through how we produce these results, but to get to the bottom line, over 200 individuals with autism have been trained and graduated into well-paid jobs as CNC. Sorry, that's the door, if you can hear it. We have a 95% job placement rate after a 1-semester training program. And employers are just delighted. These end up being their best workers. The program has been free. We are now expanding into programming, manufacturing robots, and other vocations, as you'll see. And we're expanding to other employment challenges beyond autism. We have 20 academies established across the US. So that's the bottom line to the whole thing. So
Ivan, why are some folks on the autism spectrum especially good at manufacturing jobs? Yeah,
I will cover that if you can wait.
Okay.
I will
Please,
do that in detail. Yeah. So we said, these are what's in the way of these being solutions for each other. Well, the first thing that's in the way is the language we use. So if we use the word disabled, we immediately start thinking, what's wrong with them? What's their disability? And that's really hard to find a job. As I say, Coca-Cola doesn't start by telling you all the bad chemicals in it. It tells you how good it tastes. But when we're trying to find a job for somebody who's disabled, we start using that word. We're immediately in a charity conversation. Whereas if we use the term uniquely able, then one of the things we found is everybody with an employment challenge, whether it be mental, physical, or experiential, has a compensating unique ability. So you're in a totally different conversation. So the project has two purposes. One is to shift the paradigm from disabled to uniquely able, and to provide skilled workers by matching an individual's unique abilities to the needs of career B2B jobs in demand, manufacturing being a great fit. So we have two programs. One is the Uniquely Able Academies for jobs that require training, and the jobs program for jobs that do not. We found that there are very, very few successful career training programs for the uniquely abled in the US. And we didn't know what, successful, I mean job placement. And we found out that there are 10 elements that are required if you're going to have a successful program. And and I could spend another hour or two going through them, but I'm not. But they're all pretty simple. The first one, for example, is match the unique abilities of an individual to the requirements of a job. I'm about to answer your question, Matt. Okay. One of the mistakes that people make is mixing or not differentiating skills from ability. And a skill, for example, is the ability to type. I can teach you a skill. An ability might be the ability to tolerate high repetition and yet maintain detail focus. You cannot teach an ability, okay? You either got it or you don't. And it turns out that what success in a job is much more whether people have the ability than whether they have the skill. And for example, I consulted the fastener manufacturers of the US, and having a hell of a time finding people. Nowhere in any of their documentation was requirement that the person be able to tolerate high repetition and yet maintain detail focus. And yet that was the key to the success of the job. So we really want to distinguish between those two. So for example, you all probably know what a CNC machine is a picture of, make stuff. You're on manufacturing, so you know what CNC. And now, Matt, the answer to your question. The typical abilities of somebody with autism are a perfect match for a CNC machinist. And here's why. And I could spend another hour going through all these. But you can see, if I wanted to put down what do I need in a CNC machinist, it'd be this list. Or what are the typical characteristics of somebody with autism? It'd be this list. And we have really proven that out by the results we produced so far. Important down below that, dislikes transition to a different company. Really important when you're hiring entry-level workers, especially in CNC, because after 2 years, they're going to be fought over. So that's why we picked that match of autism to CNC. Now, getting back to those 10 elements, each of those 10 elements is in any area is available from at least one organization, but there was no collaboration and nobody had all 10. So we created the Uniquely Abled Academy, and it provides a structure where multiple organizations can collaborate to seamlessly deliver all 10 required elements in a single program. So from the day somebody might see a flyer for an open house, all the way through the training, the job placement, the post-hire support, the coaching of the managers, et cetera, all the way through to the day the job coach says, you really don't need me anymore. It's one seamless program, and it's all free. Okay. So what a CNC Academy does, it trains those with autism to be CNC machine operators. It's a 16-week, one-semester program, generally at a community college. It's managed, funded locally. It's free. One of the questions people have is, where do you get the money from? Vocational rehab agencies of states have a major problem in trying to find jobs for people. And when you give them the kind of tracker we have, they pay with a smile. And as I said, we have a 95% job placement rate among the over 200 graduates to date. There are 20 licensed CNC UAAs. There's one robotics one that we just started, and here's where they're located across the country, and there's more coming. Generally at a local community college, as I said. So what are some of the benefits to an institution? Because one of the things that you might all do is, hey, I'd like to have an academy in my area. How do I do that? Well, find a community college that is already doing CNC programming with training. We build the academy around an existing training facility. Lots of benefits to those community colleges. Remember, that's one of the 3 problems. It's a whole new source of students, and they get their regular tuition. Community colleges are generally funded by the state to provide vocational training. And so states are real happy when they form a uniquely abled academy, okay? And it gives a good relationship between the local employers and the community college. So everybody wins. The process, as I say, identify a community college that already is doing CNC training, and then contact us. And that's our job, is to help you get the rest going. And generally there's a team meeting that selects how we're going to provide those 10 elements. And then there's a UAA project team that gets formed. Takes about 6 months from the first meeting all the way through to that opening of the first class. What we provide, extensive resources. I mean, this has been done now 20 times. So we know what works, what doesn't work. We've got hundreds of files on our website, including a very comprehensive guide, a job readiness curriculum, 10 lessons, 40 hours with videos and workbooks and the whole bit. Most important, you get a UAA consultant who's done this a couple of times to be with you every step of the way. And there's webinars where we get the UAAs together. We're now expanding to other vocations. We've already graduated one cohort in programming, manufacturing robots, and we're moving, as I say, to these other areas, which we see are also a great fit for those with autism. Lots of benefits to the employers. First one, the job is typically better done than if by a neurotypical. That's what we've been getting back. Also, the morale and the productivity of the entire organization goes up. It's pretty amazing. We have good data on that now. Quotes from employers. After 2.5 months, he's equal to or better than the best CNC operator I ever had. They say things like, they're like ideal employees. They in College of the Canyons in Santa Clarita, they're on their 4th cohort. The employers fight over the graduates. They're so good. So for the other thing, jobs not requiring prior training, of which there's lots of job openings there too. And here's typical ones, scanning and assembly and so on. So there's a gap. Companies may not know about where to go and get potential sources of workers, and job developers don't necessarily know how to access the B2B companies. So there's a real valley between these two. So just like there is with an autism and CNC, there are populations of people who are ideal for these highly repetitive jobs that I just mentioned. But companies don't know about where to go. So we've got some bridges. And here are some of them. Again, we could spend hours. We've got a job developer workshop. It's free on our website, 7 one-hour videos that teach job developers how to, about manufacturing and what the terms and how to access them. We've got a source directories list, where to go, where a company can go to access uniquely able workers by geography. And then one of the issues is, if you call up a lot of these agencies and said, hey, I need a 10-ton press operator, they wouldn't know what you're talking about. So there's a job list to describe the abilities and skills and the various jobs. What we're now planning also is a mini CMFGA program to teach uniquely able workers about manufacturing, so they know about safety, they know what the terms mean, and so on. And we're developing that again for uniquely abled individuals. And that is for MEPs, Goodwills, and others to produce themselves. We're not going to conduct that. We're just designing the darn thing and then making it available. So in conclusion, what you might do, okay? Use the term.
There you go, Ivan. Exactly. What's next? And I
Yeah.
see that Stephanie has kindly put your email and her email in the chat. So it'd be smart for folks if they want to follow up to grab that. But please continue on, Ivan. Yeah.
This is my final slide. So using
cool.
that term, uniquely able, will shift your perspective, include abilities in your job descriptions, and match and select for those abilities. Inquire, it's a business conversation, it's not charity. And finally, connect us to potential UAA hosts. And if you'd like a copy of all these slides, just email me and I'll be glad to give them to you. I'm now done.
Oh, no, that's perfect. We have a bunch of doers on this call every week, Ivan. And so we keep it to just 30 minutes to respect their time.
Right.
And I think this is a great start. And, Matt Fieldman, of America Works has been on the board. Now David Van Sicklen is on the board. So that's exciting. We're looking forward to seeing how we can help spread this good hard work across the country. So,
and I just want to
please,
jump in.
Talinda. Yeah,
I'm Talinda. We don't know each other, Ivan. I'm Talinda Larson. I'm in Utah, and I want to introduce our Utah agency called the Columbus Agency. Christy Chambers is on with us today, and she is the executive director, president of the Columbus Agency here in Utah. I serve on the board, and it is focused on so many of the principles that Ivan just presented in finding career jobs for those with autistic issues, and also to find housing. So we are really happy to jump on the bandwagon here, Ivan, in Utah, and we will definitely be following up with you to find ways that we can implement these programs.
Please do. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And there's a lot of questions. I suspect Stephanie is noting these questions that are in the chat that would be kind of ammo for further follow-up. But we are at the top of the hour. So thank you, Ivan, Stephanie, and all of those with the Uniquely Abled Project. Looking forward to continuing, discussions on these calls and and on the AMCC update and hearing about them on roadshows across the country. I'm wondering about Wisconsin. We're heading there next week, Ivan. So it'd be good to get connected to those. So let me turn it back to you, Michelle, and we'll close out the meeting. Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. So timely. Ivan and Stephanie, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. I actually work with the Uniquely Able Academy in Milwaukee, Matt, and they have 100% placement rate for business and industry. And so huge fans of the Academy. Every time I talk to a community college, they are very interested in how to start a Uniquely Able Academy. So Ivan and Stephanie, just much gratitude for this Academy, really thankful and just such a big fan. With that, looking forward to seeing everyone on March 11th and wishing everyone a wonderful week. Thank you so much and hope to see you Wednesday on that UAA Academy webinar as well.
Thanks all.
Thank you so much.